Alright guys, here's part 2 of the output transformer change from a classic tone output transformer for a 50 watt Plexi 1968 to a Marstran, which is ultimately a Heyboer type of transformer, and I replaced it with the 784-139, which is, I believe, from 1966. Type specs, if you will. Just real quick, on the secondaries, as you see, the gray is 16, the green is 8, and the yellow is 4, and they were all fitted here accordingly to the color code onto the switch, as far as 4, 8, 16. The orange wire, which is right here, is common. That goes down this way, and it's grounded right here with this wire onto the chassis. Then you have the primaries. You have the red and the white. On the Marstran website, it shows that the red being start and the white being finished. So what that means is this is start and this is finish. So start will be V4 pin 3, and finish will be V5 pin 3. And then you have the brown wire, and I can't remember the terminology as far as the name of it. I think it's the OT, the center tap, I mean. And that goes here to this connection here, and everything that connects here is the fuse holder here. Then you have your choke, then you have your brown wire, which is right there. So I know I promised to make a video to where I wired everything up and soldered everything, but I thought it was a bit easier this way. One thing that I do to my output transformers is that on the primary wires, like on this classic tone output transformer, the primaries, I put some a shield on it, aluminum shield, and then I put a heat shrink. And the reason why I do that is to eliminate any RF noise or waves or whatever that stuff is for. But anyways, earlier on the first video, I had mentioned that this capacitor is 47 picofarad. It's 4,700 picofarad on my bright volume pot here, and on the two videos that I have on YouTube, that a friend of mine, George, is playing this amp right here. I had the amp equipped with some XF2s, some pretty old ones, but the test real high. And what I had earlier, I was just trying them out. I had these here, I had XF4 and an XF2. These are test real high too. But to compare apples to apples, and because I changed the output transformer, I want to use the same output tubes that I had in the first two original videos. So that way, we could actually have a pretty good comparison. One other thing that I noted that was wrong with this amp, if you will, when I lifted the board, my presence control capacitor was off. It wasn't grounded. It was loose, but it still worked. So I'm sure it's gonna work even better now, hopefully. And other than that, everything's wired the same way I had it before on the other two videos. And I already did a check, make sure everything was clean and there was nothing wrong with it. But you know what, I'm going to take advantage because I'm going to install these tubes right here, the original ones that were on the first two videos. These are pretty old. If you look at it right here, if you can see the getter chemical, there's like very little, real black too. And the bottom pin broke out, but they test real good. They're up to spec. Here's one of them, and then here's the second one here, right here, sorry. And this one too is like wasted big time. Look at the getter chemicals, like almost like nothing there, but it tests pretty good too. So I'm gonna use the same ones. So like I said, I'm gonna take advantage of the output transformer being, the chassis being out of the box. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to zoom out, and I'm gonna go ahead and install the output tubes. And see, I'm just setting up the camera here so you guys can get a better view. I'm gonna set up the output tubes with the same ones, and then I'm gonna bias the amp, and I'm gonna go ahead and do a certain calculation. I'm gonna go over it with you guys, so that way in case you guys are having any questions regarding biasing, pretty much will be covered with this video. Hopefully I answer your questions. But anyways, this is an amp creator that my buddy built for me. It has a 60-degree swivel here on the sides, if you could see, and I could tilt the amp this way or horizontal this way. I could do a small chassis and a large chassis. It's a custom made one. The same guy builds cabinets for audiophile guys and somewhere in Ontario, here in California, Southern California, if you will. So anyways, I'm gonna set it here. Hopefully I don't drop it. And I'm gonna find the mocked keyway here to match the keyway here. So just from having these tubes for a while, I know they're gonna go like that. And I'm not gonna lock them in place yet because I might have to swap them. There's actually a difference when you do that. So okay, now I'm gonna leave them just like that. I'm gonna hook up the load from a cabinet, and that's 16. I believe this is hooked up for 16. Let me double check. Yeah, 16 load here. Then I'm gonna hook up a power supply, which is right. I need to get one. Sorry, should have had that ready for you guys. Sorry about that, guys. Anyways, by the way, it's Christmas Eve today. So this is on, off, and I'm gonna turn this on right here. Alright, so I'm gonna let the tubes warm up. There you go. So let me clean this up a little bit. Now I'm gonna bring it back how I had it before. I'm gonna rock it back. I'm gonna just loosen this up a little bit. Just like that. That way you guys get to see it. So now, if the max, the output tubes, the EL34s are rated for 25 watts each one, right? So in order for me to figure out what I have to bias the amp, the tubes at, or bias the amp, if you will, at, I have to figure out what the plate voltage is. And because I put a new transformer, I have to measure on pin 3. So this output transformer might be a little bit higher than the classic tone one. The classic tone one was approximately, it was like 426 or something like that. Right, and here's the negative voltage right here. And I'm gonna check pin 3 on V5 and V4, and then here's where I adjust it and I get to ground it. I'm gonna use my cheapo. No, actually, let me use my better one. I have a better one here. I have this. This is a Tektronix type multimeter. Pretty expensive, and I have it on direct current. This is alternating current, so I'm gonna set it right here. I want to set it somewhere where you guys could see it. So it's not gonna do anything here if I set it here. So sorry about that. But anyways, here's the ground. I'm gonna ground it somewhere convenient to where I know I'm not gonna have problems with the ground. So I'm gonna put it right here on the chassis. Stick it in there so it could really grab somehow. So I could do that without having a problem like I am right now. Never mind. There we go. Alright. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check the tubes just to see what the current is, because if the current's too high, I turn it off and then turn the potentiometer that's right here, okay? So it's at 35. That's cool. Oh, what was that? Okay, 33 on V5. V4 is 29. No worries. So I'm gonna go check. I'm gonna check pin 3 on V5 and check the current. You guys hear that? Okay, so it's 426, 427, just like my classic tone output transformer. Very similar. and 427. So how do I figure this out? So what I have to do, if the output transformer, if it's 427 divided by 25 equals, I'm sorry, I did that wrong. 25 max watt dissipation for the output power tubes, the EO34s, divided by 427 equals 58. That's at 100%. So I said if I set the bias at 58%, at 58, I'm sorry, it's going to be 100% dissipation on the tubes. But we want to do it to 70. So if I get 58, times 70% equals 40. So I have to set it at 40 to get 70%, right? So this is how you do it. Remember, one tube read 29. This one reads 34. This reads 30. So I'm going to use the one that says 34. So I'm going to go and I'm going to hold that right there. I'm going to find my screwdriver that I could use without getting shocked. It's here somewhere. Well, it used to be here. Oh, here's one of them. Anyways, so I set it. I check it on pin 1. I have a 1 ohm 1% resistor here, and I'm seeing 34 here, so I want it to go to 40. So I'm going to turn this counterclockwise, excuse me, and I'm going to bring it up to 40. That's 41. I like my bigger screwdriver because it's a little bit more fine as far as turning this thing. You turn a little bit and it goes all the way. I'm at 42 right now. I'm trying to get 40 to be at 70%. So if you see here, it's at 40, right? But we're looking for now this tube reads 35. Okay, no big deal. Now let's check pin 3 of V4. It says 425, right? 424. Then V5, reads 424. So let's use 425. So 25 divided by 425 equals 58, right? So we said 0.58 times 70% is 40, right? So we're going to check the tubes again, and I'm getting 40 on this one and 34 on this one. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to swap the tubes to see what happens as far as the current. So we had 34 here, we had 40 here. So I'm gonna turn the amp off, and just because we're trying to save some time here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect this. I'm gonna disconnect this here. Then I'm gonna flip this over like this without hurting anything. I'm gonna go ahead and, you can't see this right now, so I apologize. But I'm basically removing the tubes. So I'm going to take the tube that was on V5, I'm going to set it down, then I'm going to get the tube that was on V4 and put it on V5. Does that make sense right now? Because I'm just swapping two, that's all I'm doing. Let's see what happens. Sometimes it makes a difference, and they actually bias a lot closer. So I'll make sure that I insert them correctly, because there's no keyway on the tubes because it broke off because they're pretty old. Just got to find that keyway so I wouldn't have a problem inserting the tube back on. So I found the keyway. I'm going back in here, and there it is. Right. So now swap the tubes. put the amp back in the amp cradle. I'm gonna put the power back on. The load. I believe they're warmed up already, so I'm just gonna turn it on and let the voltage stabilize, and then we'll double check. Let me see if I could adjust this camera to a more advantageous setting right there. I hope that helps. All right. All right. I hope you could see that. All right. So now I'm gonna turn the amp on. Before I do that, I want to make sure that I have my ground for my multimeter. And it's too bad that I can't hold it. So anyways, turn the amp on. Now, if you remember, this tube here was reading, V5 was reading 40. This was reading 34. So let me try V5 and see what I get. I get 34, what the old tube was reading. And V4 reads 38. So I'm going to go up a little higher on V4 to where I could get 40. But remember, the power is still stabilizing. So we're going to wait a little bit, just a tad bit. It's still 38. So again, I'm going to go counterclockwise here on this potentiometer here for the bias. All right, that's close enough. See that? I don't know if you could see that. There's a glare there, but that's 40 on pin 4. Pin 5 reads 35. Anyways, that's a little closer. Are they considered matched? Some people say yes, people say no. But to be honest with you, I've had these on here before and they sound great, so it doesn't really matter to me. So anyways, so just to recap, this is a 1968 50 watt 1987 model clone that I built. I used most of the parts that I used were all of NOS parts, but you know, since they're NOS, I have to break them in, and people say that that's why the old amps sound better, because they're broken in. But anyways, I have original mustard Phillip capacitors, polyester mylar capacitors. These are Phillips. These are mini watt. Let me turn this off for a second. Sorry. And all my resistors are Allen Bradley, except here in the power section. Some of them are metal oxide, which is right here, and these are carbon film. And then I'm using F&T filter capacitors right here. These three are filter capacitors that are F&T, made in Germany. This is a CD capacitor. I can't see the name that small, but those screen resistors are first something. I can't make it out. First ohm. Yeah, first ohm resistor here. And it's 1K 5 watt. And so it used to have a classic tone output transformer, model number 40-18025 right here. And now it has a Marstran wound to his specs, excuse me, to the era correct winding of a 1966, 67, 68. They were used for many years. I think up to like 80 something. I think it's a Drake output transformer. So it wound it to the spec of the output transformer Drake number 784-139. So anyways, I did it. Sorry I didn't show you the doing of it. But I thought it was a little easier this way, and I just explain where all the wires went in case you guys wanted to do the same thing. But I'm gonna go ahead and now I'm gonna test it out. But I don't have that same strat that my buddy made the video clips with, so I'm gonna wait till I get it back. I send the neck back to Warmouth because I believe it was warped, and I put like 15 coats on it, and I put like a Fender logo, and it looked real good. And for some reason I couldn't make it playable. So we'll find out we'll see what they say. But you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. Or if you guys want me to build you an app, I could do that too. I'm gonna use as much as the original parts that I can, including like this fizz cap here is it's a dog bone 47 PF capacitor. I have vintage capacitors here too. Instead of using these Sprague for the bias caps, like I have some pretty old ones from I think they're CD, the same values too. And anyways, when I get my guitar back, we'll do a sound test, and this is part 2 of the output transformer change from a classic tone to a Heyboer 784-139 bought from Marstran. Cool. Thanks for watching.